Hey guys, in this video I'll show you a quick demo on how to build an IBCS style profit and loss statement using a metric visual in Power BI. Our goal is to replicate the structure and readability of this official IBS reference template, especially the use of signs, indentation, and subtotal placement that make a P&L easy to read at a glance. So as we all know, Power BI doesn't support this layout natively. So what you'll see here is a practical workaround using standard visuals and formatting techniques. While it's not perfect, it allows us to get very close to the IBCS look and logic directly inside Power BI. Let's start by looking at the problem we're trying to solve. Let's start with the main challenge. At the moment, Power BI's metric visual doesn't allow different labels for row subtotals. So the best we can do is place subtotals at the bottom, but the labels is always one unified name. For example, if we rename the subtotal label to revenue, every subtotal row uses that same label, and that's not what we want. What we actually want is this: when subtotals are placed at the bottom, the original account labels should move to the bottom, instead of Power BI creating a new generic subtotal label. From the template, you can see that we have a different subtotal label for each, and then there is no label on the top. Unfortunately, Power BI doesn't support this layout by default, so we need a workaround. Before we touch the visual, let's talk about the table structure. So this table consists of two main columns, which is the account column and sub-account column. So to ensure the correct order in the matrix, both columns should be sorted using their respective sort order columns. So for the account column, it should be sorted by the account ID column, and for the sub-account column, it should be sorted by the sub-account ID column. And then I will explain a bit about the financial components within the profit and loss statement. So the profit and loss or P&L statement is designed to show profitability step by step. So as you can see here, there are main line items. The first one is the revenue or sales, which is the top line. It is the total income from selling goods or services. As you can see, the Microsoft has revenue stream mainly from the product and service and other. And then second is the cost of sales or cost of revenue. This is the direct cost related to production or service. So for Microsoft, it has the product cost and service and other costs. Then we have the gross profit, which is simply the revenue minus the cost of revenue. It shows profitability before overhead costs. And then we have the operating expenses, which is the day-to-day business cost. We can see here it consists of research and development, sales and marketing, general and administrative, and impairment and restructuring. And then we have the operating income or EBIT in short, which is the gross profit minus the all of operating expenses. This is the profit from core business operations. And then we have the other income or expense, which is the non-operating items. This is usually the interest, gains or losses. Here we can calculate the income before income taxes, which is the operating income minus the other income or expense. And then for the taxes, this is simply the tax expense. And then finally we have the net income, which is the income before income taxes minus the taxes. So in this table, we will create new columns to rename accounts and sub-accounts. So these labels follow the IBCS notation, which uses signs and indentation to clearly show how each line item contributes to the final result. So let's take a look at the template. Here we have several rules we must follow. The first one is the sign rules. Each line starts with a symbol that tells us its role in the calculation, even before looking at the numbers. So here we have the plus sign, which indicates positive components that increase the result. So for example, in the template we can see that the licenses, consulting, support, and other revenue contribute to the total sales revenue. We also have the other operating income. And then the minus sign, it indicates negative components that reduce the result. So for example, here we have all kinds of expenses, including the purchases, material expenses, personnel expenses, amortization, and other operating expenses. And then all these expenses contribute to the total operating expenses. And then here we have the equal sign, which is used for calculated results or totals. So here, for example, the sales revenue is equal the licenses plus consulting plus support and plus other revenue. Then the operating result is equal to sales revenue minus operating expenses. So this allows the readers to immediately distinguish inputs versus results. So now we will try to replicate the structure of this template in Power BI. We'll begin by generating the matrix visual and place the renamed account and sub-account columns to the rows field. Then we'll set the style to none and the font size to 14 and color to black for values, column headers, and row headers. And then we'll disable the column subtotals because we don't need to display it, and for accounts that consist of more than one sub-account, we will expand them. So in this case, we will expand the revenue, cost of revenue, and operating expenses. And then we'll set the layout to tabular. So this will show the account and sub-account as two separate columns, which is important because we will hide the account column later. But for now, we will disable the text wrap for the column and row headers, as well as the plus minus icons. And then we'll go to the row subtotals, make sure it is enabled, and then we will leave the subtotal label blank by simply adding a single space, and it's gone. And then we have to set the position of the label to bottom, but as you can see here, the option is grayed out. This is because the Power BI hides this option in tabular mode. So the workaround is that we can just simply set the layout to compact, and see, you can now set the position and then change it back to tabular. Now we can hide the account column by reduce the width of the column until it completely disappears, just like that. So since we left the subtotal label blank, we can use text boxes to manually add the labels and position them exactly where the subtotal labels appear. So simply insert the text box and then name it to the first subtotal label, which is revenue. Then set the font size to 14, same as the matrix visual, and then ensure to disable the background. Set the font to bold, and for easier alignment, you can disable the snap to grid, so you can really adjust the text boxes. Then for the second label, you can simply copy paste. Okay, so make sure to place all these text boxes underneath the matrix visual. Here, revenue. As you can see here now, it looks integrated. So and the final thing you should do is to remove the column header title by simply giving a single space. It's gone. Then you can stop the user from clicking the column headers to prevent the visual from becoming misaligned because we use the text boxes. So to do this, we can simply add a shape on top of the matrix header like this, and then we will set the transparency to 100%, border to off, and make sure that the shape sits above the matrix in the layer order. Now the users won't be able to click the column headers, so the matrix cannot be sorted by any column. And that's it for this demo. I really hope that future Power BI updates will allow subtotal labels to be placed at the bottom properly, or let us assign different labels for each subtotal. So in the next part, I will walk you through SVGs within the matrix visual. As you can see here, the final result, we have the calculation waterfalls, the absolute variance chart, and the relative variance chart. So if you have any questions, feedback, or alternative approaches, feel free to leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!